About 200,000 service members leave the military every year, and the energy industry is short on the kind of high-quality technical skills a lot of those veterans are walking out the door with. Closing that gap takes more than just a job board. Welcome to Project Vanguard, where veterans and mission-driven leaders share what it takes to build America's energy future. I'm your host, Kevin Doffing. Today, I'm talking with Marcus Barnes, Marine Corps veteran and energy program manager at NextOp Veterans in Houston, Texas. NextOp focuses on the junior enlisted segment of those transitioning service members, the E3 to E7 sweet spot. And Marcus is the guy connecting their candidate pipeline to the energy industry through careers in oil and gas, utilities, and renewable power. We cover how NextOp actually works, where Project Vanguard hands off and where NextOp picks up, and how employers can get involved without paying to play. We also get into Marcus's own transition out of the Marine Corps and the practical advice he gives every vet who walks through his door. Let's get into it. Marcus, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
I'm not, but we'll do it anyway. Just screwing with you. So, Marcus, I want you to introduce yourself to everybody. What would you say you do with NextOp?
Yeah, so Marcus Barnes, I'm the energy program manager with NextOp Vets based in Houston. And my role is to build and develop relationships with companies in the energy sector, whether it's oil and gas, public utilities, or renewables. So I go out, build those relationships, and start talking to them about the value of hiring veterans and start focusing on different positions that they have that we can market to our veteran candidates.
So before you talk about the value of veterans, talk to me a little bit more about NextOp. I've known NextOp since it was, one dude in Doug Fauche's office with a phone, working part-time, trying to get E4 machine gunners jobs as plumbers or whatever, they were doing in that first iteration. Coming from there, Doug is amazing. And then JB coming on, the illustrious John Bursler, and then moving through Steph to Alan, now to Shelby. We've had these multiple executive directors showcasing amazing leadership, a little bit too much on the Marine side for my taste.
Shots fired. Dang.
I know. Oh, brother, it doesn't stop. Incoming.
Yeah.
But where is NextOp today? I just always brag on y'all as the best junior enlisted placement nonprofit in the sector. I am always promoting y'all at every chance I get. Where does NextOp stand today as an organization?
Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate that. So NextOp is, nonprofit organization that got started about 11 years ago. And just as you mentioned, when you transition out of the military, we have found statistically that those that have the most trouble or can face the most roadblocks are those junior enlisted, say E3, maybe to E7. We'll just call that the sweet spot. And where we are now as an organization, we are continuing to grow. We're at 22 employees now. I think 21 of us are veterans, former active duty military. So we want to make sure that we can close the gap of employment for those that are transitioning out of the military, making sure that we vet them, helping them to understand their value, their experience, where they want to go, which may not necessarily be aligned with what their rate or their MOS was on active duty. And then also educating companies to say, hey, listen, this is a viable workforce that we have that we can pipeline candidates that you are looking for to you. I think sometimes just because of the fact that many people don't know about the military. What is it? Less than 7% of the U.S. population has served on active duty. So there's a huge opportunity to shore that gap. And some leaders might think, oh, well, if you're a veteran, then you just deal with weapons and you can only do kind of grunt level type work.
Yeah.
But from the voice of our customer, which is our internal surveys, we currently have a caseload of 338 veterans that are actively seeking. The top industries or the top areas that they're looking for work in are IT, supply chain, HR, general administrative functions, and then people in project management. So those are the main areas. So it's important for us to educate the veterans hey, there's a world of opportunity that's out there for you, but you have to work with us to make you competitive. And with the employers to let them know there's real talent here. This is not just people that are here for very, very basic entry-level roles.
Yeah, the stats I've always heard are general industry is represented by 5% veteran, right? Some are lower. And then energy is double that. So, like, it's just organically a great place that's a great fit for vets based on the culture. It's a similar bureaucracy, it's a execution, excellence focused industry, which vets all are exposed to operational excellence, safety, all the things. So, how do y'all, on your customer acquisition for the veterans, how do veterans find y'all? How do they know I should go to NextOp?
Yeah, so we partner with a lot of other VSOs, a lot of other veteran service organizations. Just as you had mentioned, we, have a little bit of partnership with Project Vanguard, obviously. And we get the word out that way through word of mouth and through different virtual and in-person events that we host. Say every quarter, we host about 20 to 25 virtual events where the veterans that are actively seeking opportunities get on a call with different employers that want to showcase their culture, showcase the open positions that they have. So our veteran candidates can have a better understanding about these different industries, right? I mean, I'm not sure about your experience, but probably similar. I joined the Marine Corps right after high school. So for the first 6.5 years of my adult life, the military was all that I knew. And then getting out, I remember going to a staffing agency and a recruiter told me, your job is called HR. And I had no idea. She was a little condescending on purpose just because I had such a difficult time trying to figure out, like, what is my new normal? I'm not Sergeant Barnes anymore, admin guy. Who am I now? And so it's important to make sure that there are people that will help fill in those gaps.
Well, I also feel like, the classic example I always use is most of the medics I knew, especially when I was in combat, last thing they wanted to do is go into the medical field. I mean, not to a person, but like anecdotally, the ones I knew were like, yeah, my resume is a bullet point list of things I don't ever want to do again.
Right.
So what do you do with somebody who's like, hey, yeah, I have transferable skills, but I don't want to do that? What do you do with those folks?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot. I think the most important thing that any of them can do is let's look at it through the NextOp lens. The NextOp lens, once someone registers, and of course, our services are all free, they're going to be connected with an EC or an employment coordinator. And that employment coordinator is going to get all of their desires, their interests, their experience, any certifications that they have, and help point them in the right direction for, hey, maybe your MOS was an O3 or an infantry person. Now, if you want to do this, here are the different types of entry level roles where you can get your feet wet. And we can leverage the relationships that we have to help these candidates be seen. That's from the NextOp side.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, kind of broader stroke, it's really important to network. And I know that in this day and age, some people find that it's anxiety provoking. They might think, I have to reach out to someone. I don't know them. They don't know me. And as we talk about, not only building the network is important for a lot of different reasons, but it's not so much who you know as much as it's who knows you, right? This is kind of a strange analogy. You're building a relationship, right? So it's almost like dating. You're trying to get to know someone and they're trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to build that relationship, share a little bit about yourself in terms of what you bring to the table.
No, I mean, listen, we've got an entire YouTube series on networking 101 for vets on our YouTube page. And I mean, that's one of the things I talk about is like networking gets a bad rap because there's a bunch of assholes out there trying to get ahead and take advantage of somebody else. And so it is like the dating scene. There's a lot of bad actors or just misplaced intent, right? I want to do good, but I don't know how to do it. And to your point, it's relationship building. You don't walk up and go, hi, would you like a drink? Fantastic. Can we get married? What? No, I don't want to employ you for the next 5 years and I don't know you. Like, let's date this idea of each other and not just jump at the first thing that comes your way because it might not be good for you.
Sure.
I know the stats used to be like, I know post 9/11 vets, I don't know, around like 2009, 2010, we had a problem where vets weren't sticking around their first job because they didn't know what they wanted. So they take the first thing that came their way and then, they get in, they get stabilized and they're like, I hate this. We got to like spend a little time figuring out what do you want to do when you grow up? And then let's go find something that's on that pathway towards that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's key. There's a lot of resources that are out there. And I was actually just talking to a group yesterday at a Coast Guard Aviation Association event. Most of them are on active duty, but some of them are transitioning out. I'm telling them, if there's any resources that are available to you, use them. I think that's another opportunity that veterans can take advantage of. I know for me, if there's something that's offered for free that I deserve, I'm like, no, 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 that's not for me. That's for Kevin, or that's for somebody else, not for me. But no, it's for you too. And so, yeah, taking advantage of all of those resources that are available are really important.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like your VA disability assessment. Like I was doing mine and the doctor's like, hey, you filled out the back stuff wrong. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
She's like, no, 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 no. You were light infantry in combat and you have these problems. I'm like, yeah. They're like, this isn't a medical discussion. This is a legal discussion. You just have to fill your paperwork out correct. She's like, I'm going to wipe this out. Listen, like, this is how you do this stuff. And
Yeah.
like, you need to go talk to so and so. And I mean, just being a good person. But I mean, like, you've done the work, but you now have new work that you got to do. And I think sometimes vets are trying to talk about what they used to do and not what they're going to do. And so we tell a lot of storytelling without the intention of, why am I telling this story? Am I telling this story because it frames me as someone who can do the thing I'm trying to get employed as? Or am I telling the story because, oh God, this is the fourth story I've told in a row in this short meeting. And now, like, I'm disclosing things I usually would only disclose after 3 beers. Like,
Right.
this is not
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've always thought about with NextOp is like the reach that y'all have with military installations. How does that work in practice now? Do you have people that are on base or adjacent that are part of your intake funnel? Because I just love how y'all have a database of actively transitioning service members, because if we don't take care of them in the first 3 to 6 months of leaving the service, that's when we see all the bad things happening. That's what I learned when I was at Combined Arms is jobs fix a lot of problems. They don't solve everything, but everything's worse when you don't have a good job.
Yeah, everything compounds on itself because there's already that huge shift of like, my cheese has been moved. I don't know what my new normal is. Who am I now? It just adds one more thing to figure out. How am I going to pay my bills and take care of myself and my family? There's two, probably multiple ways, but the two that come to mind for me. Number one, we have a relationship with private public partnership office. And so they're kind of like the liaison at each base, primarily to target reservists. So if there are, a lot of these open positions that we have, they're all across the country. And a reservist may be, and if the company is highly motivated to hire a veteran or hire a service member in this case, then we leverage our contacts in that office. We actually just received a new batch of contacts. So that way, our jobs that we receive from companies that we work with can be funneled out to those offices to try to solicit candidate pools from there. And then we also have, of course, no BSO would be complete without a road warrior. We do have a full-time recruiter, and all he does is travel coast to coast. At the beginning of the year, it was West Coast. Now I think he's doing his East Coast tour and then in the Midwest within the next coming months. And he just goes base to base to base. Another perk of an organization, if they do work with us, our recruiter will, in fact, if you can't make it, if you have like a swag bag or you have items that you want us to carry your flag for you, different jobs that you want us to market for you, he'll run that. All you have to do is give it to him, and then he will, showcase those jobs and showcase any swag that you have to represent your company. Because I know that it's not always easy to have the bandwidth, especially for recruiters and those in HR, to be able to travel like that. You may not have the budget, high requisition load, all of those things. So we'll carry your flag. So between the 3PO office and Adam Shura, our recruiter, we get it done that way. And also just leveraging the relationships that we've had, especially a lot in the Houston team, a lot of our teammates, they still know recruiters that are out on recruiting duty, or they run into people that they placed on active duty. So we leverage those relationships too.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about the fact that Shelby and Alan and I and you, like we've been talking about your role. I mean, a year ago when Bill Prom was still there, one of the things we were looking at is how do we get funding for an energy program manager? Because I don't want Project Vanguard to be in the resume prep and the interview prep. I know what NextOp does, and I don't want to do that. I value it. I'm glad you do it. I don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to replicate it. And I'm big on these VSOs just not knowing the swim lane that they're in. And mine is in peer-to-peer networking and
energy advocacy, that kind of stuff. But I want to see where anytime we meet vets, especially transitioning or vets that want to get in and they're inside of your demographic, that we throw them over the fence to you, right? And as you need to place folks into this industry, we source those employers. And then once they're in that job, they come back to us again and they join the peer network and then they pay it forward. On the employer side, because I mean, that's what I want with this. I want to be able to showcase you and NextOp. How can employers get engaged with NextOp?
Sure. So really easy. We just had a intake call with a company, Buckeye Partners, I think is the name of the organization. So yeah.
Great midstream company.
Yeah. So I will run around and, set up meetings with different companies if they have an interest in NextOp, right? Very casual call just to introduce myself, tell them a little bit about what we do and who we are, how we can add value to them. And essentially, there's no initial cost. And we can invite them on, the different virtual events that we have. If they want to meet some of our veterans that are actively in our queue, if they want to talk a little bit about their organization, they certainly can do that. They can get involved by sending us like 10 to 15 open positions that they want us to work on. So we get those into our NextOp ecosystem, send those out to the employment coordinators. The employment coordinators will send those jobs out to their caseload. And that's how we start doing that candidate matching. Hey, if you're interested in a supply chain analyst role in Houston, who do I have in my queue that meets the criteria that's interested in that? And then start kind of
matchmaking,
bridging the gap for those two. Yeah, dating again. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. More matchmaking. Yeah, absolutely. And also, if we continue to show value and build and deepen that relationship with companies, there's the opportunity to sponsor different events that we have. We recently had our Fleet Week event, Houston's inaugural Fleet Week, and we had this huge employee readiness workshop.
Oh, the ERGs, the employee resource groups.
Yeah. So we had our employee readiness workshop. So we have about 100 veterans that are in our NextOp queue that attended that, 25 employers, meet and greet, typical career fair style. We have the opportunity to shake hands, get cards, and talk to them about their different open positions. That's another way that companies can get involved too. Lots of different ways. And then, of course, corporate partnerships are also highly valued. We are a 501c3. So
can they sponsor or donate to you?
Yes, all of the above. They absolutely can. They absolutely can.
Doesn't cost anything. There's no pay to play to like make veteran hires, but the machine requires lubrication to run. So money will get that done.
Absolutely. And again, to bring up a good point, the call that I was on yesterday, they were asking, is this like, do we pay per hire? I'm like, we're not like a staffing agency. That's not how we operate. It's definitely not a pay to play. But as you mentioned, any kind of, financial add helps us greatly. So we can continue to have these services for free and continue to hire veterans and add values to our employers too.
Oh, I get it. We're building a team here. People like to pay their bills, and it isn't done with
funny, right? Yeah.
Hugs and smiles.
Yeah.
So how are y'all predominantly funded?
There's a lot of different funding streams. We are pretty aggressive. I learned a little bit of this from Bill in terms of just applying to different grant cycles. So there are...
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. Grant cycles, collaborating with other organizations where we can work together to leverage grants based upon what we do and what they do. Say if there's a training partner, like Gas Certification Institute is the one that comes to mind. They did a virtual event on St. Patrick's Day, as a matter of fact. But, when they apply for different grants for funding, we can work collaboratively on that. So they can receive funding for their gas operations training and certifications, and they are connecting with veteran service organizations like us to help out with student enrollment.
We've been going, and usually by now I've already asked this, but I did want to touch base on how did you decide to go into the Marines? Second question, how much do you regret it? It's got to be a lot or an extremely a lot. Those are your only two options.
So this is a great story. The military was like our family business, right? My dad retired as an Army First Sergeant. He did 2 tours in Vietnam and kind of settled down in Killeen, Texas, Central Texas, Fort Hood. Anyone that knows the Army, largest armored active duty base in the world. My brother was in the Army as well. He's 8 years older than me. So I saw those two pathways, but I wanted to go off to college. I wanted to be the first one in the family to go to school formally. And when it came to that time, my parents were like, well, we know that we want you to go to college, but we don't really have the resources to launch you there. So figure it out. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, maybe the military. And talking to different recruiters, the first recruiter that I connected with was a Navy recruiter. And you got to keep in mind, I'm 16 years old. I'm in Central Texas, pretty sheltered, pretty small life. And he's like, well, you had some good ASVAB scores. I'd like to see you go into our nuclear power program and be on a submarine. Well, okay, that sounds great, but I didn't have the vision as a 16-year-old to be on a submarine. That sounded terrifying. Pull my man card, but that sounded terrifying.
Oh, dude, like trapped in a tin can. I don't know how those guys do that. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in a tank.
Yeah, exactly. Above ground. So I said, well, I don't necessarily know about the Navy. Plus the bell bottoms. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that.
They still wear those?
Well, yeah, it's been a while. It was a long time ago when I enlisted. I think they did. So then Army, I could do the Army. But if I could station in Killeen, I've never left. My whole purpose is if school wasn't going to work, I got to get out of Killeen. There's just nothing good happening in that town. Nothing now, and definitely when I was in high school, even less happening. And so my buddy Joey and I, we ran track and cross country from 7th grade until our senior year in high school. We're talking one day, we're both trying to figure things out. He said, hey, my brother's in the Marines. I don't know what he does, but he has a really cool uniform. He lives in Southern California and he has a Mustang GT. I'm like, sold. That's it. That's all I needed. I mean, a 16-year-old with dreams of having a cool uniform, living in California and driving a Mustang.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, and he's got a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. Girlfriend, Mustang, interchangeable. I was more focused on the Mustang, but that was it. And the day that we shipped off to boot camp, it was all of us here. We're at the little Greyhound bus station in Killeen. And my buddy Joey's got his family there, and I've got mine, and we've got our friends, and we're sitting there chit-chatting. These are friends that are there that I've known. This is small town, USA, that I've known since elementary school. Same elementary school, same middle school, same high school. So we're making this big change. And I kind of had this thought, like, I think we're supposed to be getting on a bus to go up to Dallas. So I go to the counter, and I ask, hey, looking for the bus to Dallas, bus number, I don't know, 362. Where's that bus on the schedule? And the lady behind the counter said, you just missed it. So we just missed the bus. So I'm like, hey, guys, I know we're having this kumbaya moment. We just missed the bus. So my dad immediately goes into first sergeant mode. Knife hands are out. You all disperse. Joey, me and Joey, we get in the back of the Buick and my dad is chasing the bus. And so we're sitting back there and my mom and dad are bickering at each other, right? You should have paid attention. You should have paid attention. And the tension, you could cut it with a knife and we wouldn't dare laugh because my dad would have lost it. So he finally catches up with the bus. I think the bus stopped in Temple, which is about a 30-minute drive. We catch up with the bus. Joey and I get on. We say our goodbyes. And then we just pass out from all the excitement. We fall asleep. And then we wake up and we're out to Dallas and we look at each other. We're sitting right across from each other like, did we just join the Marines? We're like, yeah, I guess we did. And the rest is history. It was a ton of boot camp stories, but I have to say, I loved it when I was in. And I think a lot of people, you kind of have that love-hate relationship and you realize it's just time to pivot. And I think if it's not for me anymore, then you got to do something different. I do regret not retiring though. That is my one regret.
I feel that now that I'm the age of guys that are like retiring and they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, you're like been in command and brigades and, oh, I've been doing the thing you haven't been doing, but you've been doing the thing I haven't been doing. Okay, yeah, I can help you. But also just know that like, I'm an idiot. And if I can make it work, you'll make it work too.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Or the best was I was at a bar with a buddy and he's like, hey, we were talking about the same thing, like how we're getting older and, these dimwits that we were in with, they're our buddies. We love them. It's like that guy is the guy that everyone looks up to now. We used to just get blackout, whatever. And he's like, look at this group text. These are all generals. It was as if like there were 22-year-olds just shit talking each other. It was great. I was like, okay, good. They're still people. Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was a great time. And actually at the, anyway, it was a Fleet Week event. The name escapes me, but I'm setting up the booth. One of my coworkers, this woman comes up to me and she points at me. She's like, I know you. I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know what this means. Uh, I don't know.
Marcus.
And I stare at her and I recognize her. We were stationed at Camp Pendleton in 1993.
Wow.
And she was dating the guy that was my roommate. It blew my mind. I bring that up just because of the bonds that you create with people, not only through boot camp, but and active duty. It's just incredible, right? And so he's here now in Houston, and I'm going to go have dinner with them the next couple of weeks. And I think it's that connection and that servant leadership that is so helpful to be in roles like yourself or work for veteran service organizations. These are like brothers and sisters. We want to help them out, man. We haven't seen her since 1993, and I'm still almost like immediately bonded.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. Well, I mean, that's one of the things we're going to start a new podcast series that follows like a half dozen vets as they're transitioning out or becoming vets, right? Transitioning service members, because I got out a long time ago. I got out almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was only in long enough to basically deploy to Iraq and then be like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Which at the time I'm like, one deployment? What a worthless POS. Now I meet guys, they're like high flying SF. They're like, well, I never even deployed. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you still did a lot cooler stuff than me, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does that look like now? Like, what am I getting myself into? When we start interviewing a bunch of these cats on, they're leaving service now. What does that look like for junior enlisted service members as they leave?
Sure. Well, the job market it fluctuates. I think it's challenging. There's still some hiring that's happening in the energy sector. I feel like there's a little bit of forgiveness there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's most important for them is to, like I said earlier, look for any type of resources, utilize any resources. You've got a network. And I would recommend be a little hungry. Be hungry for understanding a little bit more about civilian jobs and civilian culture. So oftentimes when I go to career fair, previous companies, there's not a lot of research that's done. And what happens is if I'm at a job fair for 4 hours, then I run into veterans and they say they're interested in operations, management, or logistics, which is an answer that is so incredibly broad.
Right.
I get why they're saying that because as veterans, we do everything. Everything is OJT. We can,
but aim small.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. We're cooking, we're in tanks, we're motor T, we're doing admin stuff. We do it all. And so from that perspective, it's like I can do all of the things. But from a civilian perspective, and especially for me spending the last 10 years in corporate recruiting and staffing, that doesn't compute. They're like, you have to be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker. You can't be all three. So you got to tell me what it is that you want to do and start speaking a little bit of that language. And I think what's important in terms of kind of reducing any kind of roadblocks is for transitioning veterans to spend just a little bit of time, even Google it or use ChatGPT and say, hey, like job titles and operations. And it will give you a litany of different titles and kind of break it down so you can start acclimating yourself and start speaking the language because then you get people's attention.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's really good advice. Well, Marcus, hey man, I really appreciate everything that you've done. How can we do more to help you?
I mean, I think inviting me on this podcast and having everyone hear my amazing radio voice is going to be like, kidding. This is great. This is a lot of fun. It's great to be able to connect. I'm grateful to be on here and, continuing to spread the word, right? Like we all work together. I think one of the things that I find is really important is I don't care if it's Project Vanguard or NextOp or Wounded Warrior Project where I used to work, like we're all here to focus on veterans and helping them with employment or mental health. Other organizations do different things, just employment for us. Let's all work together. Let's work together. Let's refer each other. Obviously this podcast is going to have a wide audience. Check out our website, see for yourself. How would you like to become involved with our organization if you are a company? And veterans, sign up. Services are free. You're going to have someone helping you along the way with your career transition, so long as you put in the effort as well. The effort will be matched 100%.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always say like, we don't help vets get jobs. We help them get screening calls.
Right.
Use our network to find someone at the company you're interested in after you work with y'all, alongside working with y'all, and then they will tap HR on the shoulder, right? and they will help you get to the top of the stack. So you at least get a look. You'll most likely get a call. And from there, it's up to you. But I mean, like a lot of times that's like the bottleneck people get stuck on is just they don't know how to get through the door. But before they do, they need to be ready and they need to talk to folks like you. And they need to sometimes already have that direct pipeline where you're already working with their talent acquisition team and they can do that. Especially with junior enlisted, that's so much more important because there's such a large volume of roles
Yeah.
for a lot of stuff that junior enlisted are going to fill and face that you don't have to spend as much time networking. You do to understand where you want to be and what you want, just kind of that self-discovery by talking to other vets and learning about the industry. But I mean, with programs like NextOp, if you're a sharp E4 getting out, with a mechanical or technical background or just good with your hands, my God, like the sky's the limit once you plug into a group like NextOp.
Absolutely. And a lot of corporate partners that we have across all sectors, but I'll toot my own horn in energy, Chevron, Shell SMC, Enbridge. And, I have regularly scheduled calls with them and pull up jobs on their job board all the time. So it's just a matter of get plugged into us and let's see how we can change your life so you can continue to, you got to pay your bills. You got to live. We want you to live comfortably and be successful and be in a job or a career that's fulfilling and rewarding, not something that's below your skill level where you're going to feel dissatisfied 40 hours a week.
Oh, I know. That's the worst. So, Marcus, I want to thank you for your time today. I did have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
One of our big mottos here is that energy security is national security. And I think that veterans just have a more visceral experience with what that means. But what does energy security mean to you?
Yeah, great question. So I'll piggyback on my previous employer. So I worked for CenterPoint Energy previously before NextOp. I was a lead recruiter for them. And one of the things that when you get hired on, regardless of what your role is, if you're an HR, obviously if you're alignment, but it doesn't matter what your role is, you have an ancillary duty, whenever there is an emergency, to be on call. It's an all hands on deck situation. It's baked into your offer letter and it's a requirement. So right now we're in hurricane season. So I know that every CenterPoint employee is going to be activated and they will be out at different staging sites throughout all of the greater Houston to make sure that if there's any power lines that are down, that they're going to be restored. And generally speaking, veterans have a really good understanding of what that's like to be in an emergency type situation. They understand they're not going to balk at, oh man, like I just worked from 8 to 5. I don't want to be out at one of these satellite locations, working these odd hours to make sure that mutual assistant crews are coming in to make sure that our infrastructure is safe and online. But that's kind of part of the deal. It's important to make sure that all of the things that we take for granted, like before I started working for CenterPoint and also CPS Energy in San Antonio, I come home from work, take off my shoes, I put in my popcorn, I hit the popcorn button, and I expect everything to be on, lights to come on, popcorn to pop. And, it's important to make sure that not only those systems are running effectively, but there are people in place to make sure that they are safe, that they remain safe and viable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with Jason Fabry over at CenterPoint?
I did.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Yeah, he's great, man.
Jason's been on the podcast.
He's really, really great. He got me connected to Veterans in Energy. I went to their leadership forum, I think a couple of years ago out in the DC area. Fantastic. Such a super great guy. I think we even have a 7-foot tall pop-up with Jason on it, right? Great guy, Army guy. Got to work with him and also with his wife. She was the new VP within HR.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Super great guy.
Yeah. So if you're looking to get into energy, you're entering into a good family where people know you, people know each other, and you're always welcome. So, any last words of advice for veterans looking to get into energy?
Give it a shot. And I'm going to say it again, network. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to let people get to know you. And most importantly, not just who you are, but how you think, how you speak. That's really important for when you are hired and there's different opportunities, projects that you can work on or promotions. I don't want to say you got to be like the squeaky wheel, but people need to know how you think, the gravitas that you have, your leadership capabilities. Don't be afraid to use your voice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like when you're in the service, it's not as simple as, hey, who here has been to X school? Okay, great. We need somebody with that qualification. In the civilian world, it's like, okay, who can lead a team in this way? Well, if they don't know you, they don't know that you're capable of that.
Right.
So you got to help sell yourself to them, not because you're being self-serving, but you got to serve the organization. And you can't do that if leadership doesn't know what you're capable of.
Yeah. Don't play small. That'd be my parting thought. Yeah.
I like that. Well, Marcus, this has been great today, man. After we start promoting this and getting this out there, I want to start setting up some webinars with a bunch of our employers from our team and our membership. I'm excited we finally were able to get you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Kevin, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to sponsor or donate to NextOp and you're really focused on those junior enlisted folks that are going to be coming into the service that you need for, skilled trades, NextOp's your best shot at doing that. So make sure you reach out. And what's the website for NextOp?
NextOpVets.org.
All right. That's perfect. So if you want to support or you want to get involved, go to nextopvets.org.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, Marcus, thanks, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin. Take care.
Thanks for tuning into the Project Vanguard podcast. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with someone who's ready to think differently, whether it's about an all-the-above energy approach, how energy security is national security, or the veteran workforce in our industry. If you believe what we're building, a quick review goes a long way. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep up the fire.